Hello, Dave, and welcome. Slide on in. Okay, folks, hello. Thanks to the folks in the room and thanks to the folks online. Welcome to the launch of the UWin Tool Parade Generative AI video. Very exciting. My name is Bonnie Stewart. I am Associate Professor of Online Pedagogy and Workplace Learning at the Faculty of Education at the University of Windsor, and this is my amazing team.
Hello. Hi.
Say who you
Oh,
are.
I always forget that part. I'm Mark Lubrick from the Office of Open Learning.
David Liu, second year consecutive BEd student.
I'm Tracy McAllister. I'm also a second year BEd consecutive student.
Okay, and each of us will be taking a very short period of time just to talk a little bit about what we've done this year. But basically, today's launch is round 2 in an open education project that I've been involved in since I came to the University of Windsor in 2018. In my very first year of teaching digital technologies in the faculty, I realized it's important to me always not to do disposable assignment work. I like to build on the work that students do so that my eyes aren't the only ones that see it, to have students see each other's work, and to try to make open educational resources and artifacts where possible. And we were doing an overview as group projects of different digital tools and sort of critically analyzing how they could be used in the classroom. From a how does this work for educators point of view. I realized that the work the students were doing was great and I didn't want it to be lost, and that actually making video versions of it and later podcast versions on different tools would be something that educators, not just in my pre-service classes, but my faculty colleagues and their K-12 teachers who were associate teachers with them could benefit from as well, because we are all on a shared learning curve when it comes to using and meaningfully integrating digital technologies into our classes. So in the end, the Open Page project, which was launched in February of 2020, an interesting time, ended up having originally 13 videos and 11 podcasts, all covering different tools in a brief, what can this do in the classroom? What are the data concerns in terms of service concerns? And how can I use this for kind of differentiating learning and making sure that my teaching is more inclusive sense? Obviously, March of 2020, this got very popular. A couple of our videos actually went kind of viral in the early days of the pandemic, over 40,000 views, because people were hungry for that kind of information. But fast forward a couple of years, whoops, there we go. Fast forward a couple of years, and what we're seeing is, like any site, things get a little outdated. One of the videos, the tool was Google Expeditions, and it's existing. So I knew that this year I wanted to do something to update the project. Also, something else happened in education that started to make things really different. And that was the release, particularly November 30th, 2022, of ChatGPT. I was concerned that to some extent, this comic captured a lot of the educational response to generative AI. We don't know what it's going to do. We're worried it'll take away our jobs. We're worried about the risks, but we got to employ it as fast as we can so we don't look like we're being left behind. And I thought, you know what we need is a teacher-to-teacher resource that addresses how we can use this tool and what we should be concerned about with this tool or this series of tools in the same way that the Open Page did. So thank you, Open Learning, for funding this year's round 2 of the project. Tracy, take it away.
All right. So before we go into a little bit more detail and like watch our actual video and everything, we thought we would poll everyone here to just see what everyone thinks of when they think of generative AI. Is there anything that comes to mind? You can send it in the chat here, and we'll just see what sort of everyone says.
End of the world.
End of the world, yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people are definitely thinking like that.
What about you, Padma? What do you think?
Job loss. We
Job
see
loss
here,
is a
yeah.
real concern for
Mhm.
sure.
Plagiarism,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Opportunity, caution. Yeah. Are there any specific tools that comes to mind for anyone? So misinformation, false narratives, a threat to white collar jobs,
Great.
gaining new knowledge, deep fakes, yeah, uncertainty for sure. Yeah, any tools that anyone's thinking of right away when we think of generative AI? ChatGPT, I think that that's a big one that everyone thinks of for sure. Any
It
other
was the
ones?
first one to really hit those of us in those white collar
For
jobs.
sure, yeah. Application of professional ethics. Yeah, of course.
Microsoft Copilot's the other big.
Right, Copilot, yeah, yeah, of course. So we have a lot of different tools and different ideas that definitely come to mind when we're thinking about this. It's important to note that when we're talking about generative AI, we're not talking about one specific tool. We're not just talking about ChatGPT, or Copilot or any one of those things. We're talking about the large language models that are able to pull information from other sources, and end up also contributing back to the general knowledge of society by outputting their knowledge and information. All right, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so I know we think a lot about student use of generative AI for sure, right? I know a lot of us go right to that academic integrity plagiarism angle, but there's actually a lot of generative AI that targets teachers specifically. One here is Diffit. I know there's another one, Magic School, that allows teachers to go in and make resources that they're using to educate their students. Like you'll note down here, you can actually set it to a grade level. So this one, Diffit specifically, you can set it to output a grade level, and they'll give you multiple choice, paragraphs, questions, different stuff like that. But so here we actually asked Diffit, what should educators know about AI? And the response that it gave us is like this very neat, well-packaged whole resource that they shoot back at us, but you'll notice that the language that it uses when it speaks about itself isn't very critical. And I think that's something that's important to note is when we're using AI, it's going to talk about itself very pleasantly.
All right, hi everybody. So Tracy and I are K-12 educators. So the way generative AI has affected our assessment practices has really varied a lot. And all of you work in the higher ed space, so I'm sure you have also had some interaction with generative AI. Something we want to talk about is the idea of generative AI kind of weaving itself into the higher ed space. So for example, here is a quote from the CEO of Forbes, who is talking about how he is going to start selling courses on Coursera, which is a MOOC, or Massive Online Open Course. So this is a platform that hosts these kinds of courses. So we're just kind of talking about how generative AI would affect your ability to essentially still keep a job, or how generative AI may start making some of your roles obsolete in this higher ed space. So here's a question we have for you all. So educators had different responses to generative AI. What are yours? So here, A, we could see a dystopian nightmare. So you would never want to use this. You think everybody should stay far away from this. B, we could have a potentially useful tool. So maybe you would start introducing this to your courses, but you're still a little wary of what's happening. C, our amazing future. So yes, you're going to start teaching your students how to use this effectively, ethically. And finally, D, all of the above. So kind of a mix of everything.
I'm just putting in the chat, I'll take all of the above, Alex, for
Yeah.
200.
That's all.
So it would be great if we could see A, B, C, or D, and maybe some of your reasoning too behind your answers.
I think that it's all gonna be different based on how you respond to it, like, and where you're at too, that
Mhm.
it's a dystopian nightmare, certainly if we don't do anything about
Right.
it. And its potential as a useful tool is if we do something about it. And, maybe not so our amazing future, I don't, I'm okay with the first two now that I think about it. Can I have A, B, and not C, is that an option?
Yeah, for sure.
Just because you asked so nice.
No.
I love Ira's point. Remember, Gutenberg wiped out half of Europe's languages,
Mhm.
right? And I think that I've been working in sort of the intersection of technology and education and technology and knowledge for a really long time. And that idea that, yes, you gain things, but you actually always lose things. And so those of us who live on this kind of cusp of changing times are maybe the last ones positioned to recognize what we might lose in this process. And I think that that's important.
The radio canceled out the accents all across North America.
Right.
The telephone, you gain the ability to call people, but you lose the charm of distance and nobody writes letters. Like you always got this trade-off.
I'd really love to pull out.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's the change that's scary, right?
Yep.
When you're looking at things in a scary perspective, then it could be a dystopian nightmare. But how about we start looking at, because we've gotten comfortable, right? The way we do things, it's the set norms. But this is now challenging us to think beyond those comfort zones. It's trying to ask us what we can use of it, right? So if we are afraid of it and we don't use it, that would be like the boogeyman that everyone's afraid and we feel a nightmare. But if you're open, start talking about, have that conversation, and then the change starts, right?
I love that point, Padma. And I think part of what this project was meant to do was bring out let's get past the fear in terms of the concern about making changes in our own practices, because that's, let's be real, that's always a challenge for educators, right? It is hard to adapt what we do. And some of Padma herself is featured in our video. You will hear people talk about that. But I also want to be concerned at the big picture level, because the points that Janelle made, can we just scroll back up to that for 1 second? Where there is a lot of gatekeeping, there is a very significant effort to capture this market, right? We'll say it in the video, but kind of in a gold rush right now. And we need to be mindful that our own classroom practices are just one scale of impact here. The bigger picture impact is also something that we tried to raise in the video. There's some great conversations happening here around sort of the removed diversity versus remove barrier, or reduce diversity versus remove barriers. John, I think Janelle's point that it builds off of prominent narratives content is an important one. That will reduce diversity. It may also open up some barriers, but we need to be mindful of what's getting lost. I'm loving this discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Great discussion. Mark, do you want to take it away from here? Or
We did want to take a second to just highlight how the video was developed. Thankfully, it started off a lot like the 2019 process, which was great for me because it meant I didn't have much to do at first. These three fantastic people developed a great script for the student part. And then we also wanted to incorporate some instructor voices. So Bonnie did a great job of that, developing some questions for more open-ended interviews. So in the end, there ended up being some online and in-person interviews. And we were very fortunate that Tracy and David did a great job giving the background of AI and everything we need to know, including some of the different tools that are out there. And then we got some really authentic perspectives from the instructors, highlighting some of their concerns around AI and how you could use it in your own teaching. We were also lucky because we had instructors from 4 different departments, including social work, creative arts, and education. Of course, after the filming, we get to the editing part, and I always kind of love the name in the top right corner of the video screenshot, full edit V2. It looks so clean and nice. That is not the naming convention of many of the versions we sent. It was definitely an iterative process. Let's go with that. And it was really helped along by the script. The script gave us the entire structure. And again, Tracy, David, and Bonnie did a really good job finding images and other media to mix into the video. So hopefully you end up liking it. You get to see it in a second, but I do want to plug, also double check those resources on the open page, because as Bonnie said, there's some great ones on there.
And soon we will be making it a little more updated thanks to the work of these 2 students in front of us. Without further ado, I want to thank everybody for being part of this launch today, particularly the folks who had a hand in making it happen. And I want to reiterate that these resources are out there. They're short. This is by far the longest video because we had both the scripted piece and the interviews. This is a 12-minute video, whereas our other ones are 3 to 5 minutes. But all of these resources are things that you can share with other educators, maybe in your department or in your faculty or in your school, saying, hey, we should talk about this. This being such an interesting and fraught topic with so many perspectives, we thought it would be rich enough to sustain the full 12-minute discussion. So I'm going to close this door because we're getting people coming in and out of this building. And I am going to say, Mark, take it away. You are the very first people, I think, other than Mark and I, to actually see this video. Yay!
Let me know if there's any problem in the chat with the video. Hopefully you'll stream well. We are on data from a.
And then do stick around and we can continue the conversation for as long as they'll let us have the room. Sound?
Welcome to the UWin Tool Parade, the teacher-to-teacher open overview of what EdTech can do for you. From the University of Windsor's Faculty of Education, I'm Tracy.
And I'm David. Today we're going to be talking about generative AI. Generative AI is not actually a single tool, but it's a category or collection of tools that can be used.
I'm guessing the online people might have it sound. Us in the room don't. Bear with us just a second. Sorry about this. Just to really tease the video. That's.
Has anybody heard what's happening with our internet on campus? Your digital technology final class of the year with no issue?
Could be good.
Okay, let's give it a shot. Thanks for your patience, folks. Yeah.
Welcome to the UWin Tool Parade, the teacher-to-teacher open overview of what EdTech can do for you. From the University of Windsor's Faculty of Education, I'm Tracy.
And I'm David. Today we're going to be talking about generative AI. Generative AI is not actually a single tool, but it's a category or collection of tools that can be used to trawl the internet and synthesize information into responses that mimic human art or human writing in real time.
The art tool DALL-E was released in 2021, but generative AI really took off in the mainstream, especially in education, in late 2022 with the release of ChatGPT. Generative AI is also now embedded into Microsoft's search engine Bing and other tools.
While ChatGPT was originally text-based, the paid version now includes images. There's also other generative AI tools which can create audio or video. And for education, there's resources such as DFID, which can create instant learning resources such as lesson plans and also learning support materials for any grade level.
The term artificial intelligence is misleading, as it's not actually thinking. It's just repurposing and remixing things that humans have already written or made at incredibly fast speeds. But the fact that it can do this changes education.
Yeah, so in this short video, we'll be overviewing some of these key changes, and we'll also be talking about some issues surrounding generative AI. We'll also be interviewing educators from around our campus of varying disciplines and how the hype of generative AI is affecting their teaching practices.
One of the key things Gen AI can do is quickly summarize information on just about any topic. Think of it like Wikipedia on steroids, or the top search result on Google. The information may be surface level, but it can be a great jumping off point for further research.
Another thing text-based generative AI is good at is creating educational materials. For example, you can have detailed lesson plans within seconds, targeted towards your specific grades or learning objectives. And if it wasn't exactly what you're envisioning, then you can ask the platform to make edits based on your end goals.
But Gen AI can also summarize information and quickly make new material for the students in your classes too. And trust us, they are using it. The important question is, how do we design lessons and assessments that support student learning without just handing over everything, the lessons, the assignments, and the feedback, over to automated tools?
One of the course I teach is called professional nursing. It's geared towards the third year level. What we have done is, instead of making it an individual paper, it's a group paper. So a group of students will have to write, and they have to write very specific about a clinical problem that they have identified. So it's very local. That is, in Windsor, we have only Windsor Regional Hospital where they do their placement. So they pick site-specific problem and they try to improve it. So we're taking out the elements where they could possibly use ChatGPT to generate an entire paper for us.
I've just decided to bring it up with them. First day of class, we talk about it. And I even tell them that I've tried it, and I tell them what I found has been useful. And when I do that, it seems to make it okay for them to confess, right? There's some shame and stigma around it. It seems to make it okay for them to say they've tried it out, this is what they've found. And then we try and talk through what it's useful for and what it's not useful for. As much as we're all not experts right now, right? We're sort of fiddling our way through.
I don't feel that AI at this point would be able to completely do the assignments that I asked them to do. Math can be very much related to procedures. So if it was only about plugging in numbers, using formulas and doing calculations, I think it would be great. And they could just go there to an AI platform and ask them to do, and hope here, that's the perfect solution. But that's not usually what I do. So I ask them to conceptually engage in mathematics.
What's important here for teaching and learning is not treating Gen AI results as ends in themselves. Teachers are asking students, why should I read what you won't bother to write? But students are asking teachers, perhaps rightfully so, why should I write what you won't bother to read or get feedback on?
We risk creating a cycle of outputs without engagement if we don't teach our students and ourselves that Gen AI is only a step in the knowledge-making process.
This isn't just so we don't get wrong answers. This is so, as a society, we don't turn over our meaning-making and our search processes over to automation. There's a real risk of auto-tuning knowledge here, so that what becomes mainstream is the only thing that's searchable and knowable. There's also a risk of increasing bias. As AI takes over web search, there becomes a challenge of finding accurate and alternate info.
At the big picture level, current claims about Gen AI are like a gold rush, with corporate players hustling to get on the next big thing. But if we buy everything they're selling, we are handing over knowledge and creation to what is basically an automated recycling process. We are feeding the hype cycle.
I think this is again an invention that's predominantly in the global north. And so what kind of stuff that's built into this? So the issue it raises, number one, a bias, racism. There's a lot of horror stories about face recognition AI that's meant basically for white people, and they're not catching, other faces, so that's just I think, tip of the iceberg, right?
On the one hand, what's interesting about photography is that from its very inception, it's been a really unstable medium as far as being a truth teller. And so that actually makes it almost seamless to teach this latest development in terms of how to understand that manipulation and trickery has actually coexisted with its entire 200-year history, right? But then what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do now when the political forces, the ideological forces are such that the information is coming at a rapid fire pace? How do you assess it? How do you analyze it?
When Dr. Google came out, what happened is you're not educated, but Google kind of suggests that your loved one should have so many tests. And we don't do all the tests, and possibly you're looking at it at a wrong way. We have gone to the school, so we know what we need to test, what we need not test, right? So we get a lot of unwanted conflicts where we're trying to explain people, we're not trying to not treat your loved one. Maybe I'll get generic versions, but that generic version of what ChatGPT is printing or telling them might not be preparing them to become that professional.
Gen AI tools are continually being released and updated in the rush to capture the current market. So there's no one-size-fits-all policy for payment and privacy, but there are a few trends. OpenAI, Bing, and Diffit all offer free models in which users exchange data for the use of the service.
Personal data can be leaked in privacy breaches, used to advertise affiliate products or services, or sold to other companies as user insights. Remember, if you are not paying for the product, you are the product.
When thinking about AI use in our classrooms, educators should consider whether all students can engage equitably. We should also recognize that if using AI with students, we should research the terms of service and privacy concerns of what we're exposing our students to.
So there are good reasons not to just jump on board, but let's talk about what Gen AI can do to support learning.
Gen AI can take a basic assignment and immediately identify ways to make it accessible to different learners. It can identify accessibility and accommodation options, create detailed rubrics, and suggest multimodal universal design for learning strategies.
And that's just with a simple prompt. You can continue to prompt and tweak, generating solid teaching resources while cutting down on teacher prep time in a major way.
Students can use AI to generate art or music, enabling autonomy even without mastery.
Is that good, though?
It depends. Easy access to low-level creation can help foster independence, maybe even get a student excited about going further on their own. Gen AI tools offer educators and learners a world of instant possibilities. However, educators should be aware of the economic models behind these tools, as well as some of the climate and labor impacts that they're having on the world at large.
One of the key practices for using Gen AI meaningfully in the classrooms right now is making
right? So, and that is something that I want to bring to my classroom.
Maybe I want to generate a case study.
And it churned something out that was both terrible but helpful, in that I thought, I know more than the AI does, but also it's reminding me of what I do know. And so it had cobbled together things that I already knew and put them together for me in a package. So I was able then to use it as a springboard, right? And I didn't take anything at all from that prompt, except that kind of fuel that I needed to remember that I know what I'm doing, actually.
As a human being, if you've lost your sense of imagination and your sense of creativity, what good, like your life is basically drab and boring, because that brings about excitement in life, right? You dream of something, you're working towards it. This thing cannot do that for you. This thing will give you right answers and something that's already in existence, written by somebody there. This will never produce something new, right? And dreaming, like things like freedom, dreaming equality, dreaming, a better society.
Thanks for talking Gen AI with us. Follow hashtag UWinToolParade and keep thinking critically about EdTech.
Do we still have audio on a call?
We should have
Okay.
audio happening.
Thanks. So sorry, folks. I think we lost a lot on the video sharing on that front, and apologies, but there's nothing that Mark could have done better. We have all of the hotspots going, and apparently our campus just is trying a paper-based version of learning during Open Week, which is great. Perfect for
I think it's the AI that's shutting you down from all of your criticisms.
It might be. Do you think the AI is sensitive to our criticism?
I think it is.
Tracy I got bumped off the internet completely, but Tracy shared the link right to the YouTube video. So thank you, Tracy. And do feel free to use it and share it. We are also, because of the connectivity issues, the very nice person in our Faculty of Education, Janet, who runs Drupal for us, which is what the open page runs on, was unable to get the video actually embedded into the open page. The link is there. So that link on the final slide, which you may or may not be seeing in front of you, I don't know if we are. There is a link in the middle of that page as well as on the sidebar, but soon there will be a beautiful actual embedded video when we rejoin the 21st century. Stay tuned. More I don't know. Yesterday, Facebook was down. I am considering that, you know, it might be time for me to reconsider what I teach and do with my life and education. But thank you very much for being with us. I don't know if there is any further conversation outside of the UWindsor connectivity issues. I really appreciate the conversation. I saw Janelle and Ira and John all talking about power dynamics and all kinds of things. This is what we wanted folks to talk about in relation to AI. I loved the fact we intentionally ended the video with Abdul's point about what about the things, AI is great for what we need to do efficiently. What about dreaming? What about actually thinking about where we're going as a species? Very wary of turning too much control over to that. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the issues. We will be posting the recording of what we've got. And I guess we'll close it there because we aren't even sure if you can hear us.